Hello and welcome to Multiform. Every week we get together to talk about the latest Xbox news, rumors, and the games we've been playing lately. New episodes post every Monday morning. You can email the show, questions at multiformpodcast.com. You can follow the show on Twitter or Facebook, X at multiformpod, and our social handles are at the end of the show. This is episode 263. I'm your host, Tim Shelton. And I'm joined by my brother-in-law, the lawyer, the lawman himself, Spencer Rain.
Dude, Mac is so much better than PC. Holy cow. PC sucks.
I wholeheartedly disagree. Get out.
Listen. I just deleted a folder from my OneDrive that was like 4.9 gigs. So it was a big folder taking up all the free space. You
got to go and delete it from the recycle bin now.
I did that, and it's still saying I have 4.9 out of 5, and it still says in the My Documents folder, it still says it's 5.02 gigs. So it's like trapped now. I can't delete it. They're like still in there, but the folder that they were in is deleted, so they're just floating in there, and I'm never going to be able to delete them. This wouldn't be a problem on Mac. You delete the folder on Mac, boom, it's gone. It's gone.
Well, I mean, I think your problem's with OneDrive, not PC, but you are making
it's a Windows. It's a Windows thing. Windows sucks.
I feel like if I were there, I could fix this in like 3 seconds.
Just saying, it's so much more complicated than iOS, or not iOS, OS.
I don't know. Anytime anybody hands me a Mac, I used one for 2 years at work, and I hated it. I did get inundated, but everything is slower and dumbed down. That's the problem. You're just not smart enough for a PC. Are you complaining about the PC that used to be my PC? Is that what you're using?
It's just as slow.
It just took time to catch up.
Yes.
Well, it is a cloud thing. It probably had to delete it all out of the cloud. Once you delete something, it has to remove it from like all the servers.
No, but you're right. You're right. No, I'm not. I am too stupid for PC gaming and PCs in general. Like I they make modding so easy on Steam and also the Paradox launcher, because you literally just subscribe to the mod and it downloads it to all the right places, checks the right boxes. And yet I still struggle with mod compatibility. And also part of the problem is Paradox updates their games literally every 36 hours. So there's a new version of the game, in quote, quote, new version of the game, literally every 36 hours.
Like Call of Duty.
Mods are constantly out of compliance.
Several of the episodes you missed, I complained about how every time you boot Call of Duty, it says, oh, got to kick you back to the title screen for an in-game update.
Yeah, remember when I was playing Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 earlier this year, just the campaign? Well, literally every time, like over the 2 weeks that I was playing it.
Oh, there's an update. Got to go back to the menu.
I probably had to restart the game every other time over a 2-week period.
Whatever net code they've used for 20 years is got to be carried forward as to why that is, but there has to be a good reason why they're the only game that does that. I mean, there are other games that you sometimes have to get booted back for like an update, but theirs is basically every time you boot the game. Anyway, what I was going to say is, did you see that they confirmed that mod support is coming, or is whatever, for Starfield? Obviously, there's already mods out there.
Yeah.
But that they're going to have mods on Xbox, like you make them on PC, but they're going to be accessible on console.
Yeah, that's how. The Fallout, like in Fallout and Skyrim, the mods were all PC mods.
I know, but they hadn't explicitly confirmed that it was coming to Starfield on console.
Sure,
now they have said it is eventually going to come to Starfield on console.
I hope that they have a larger download space than what was allowed in Fallout 4 and Skyrim, because it was like 6 or 7 gigs, which is not enough. Especially in Skyrim, where like if you wanted to download the entire Beyond Skyrim mod set, which was like they recreated the northern part of the game world from Oblivion, Cyrodiil, you had to delete everything, and like you could only have those installed, which is unfortunate, because there's a lot of like quality of life mods in Skyrim that like you need to have, or you should have. You don't need to have, but you should have to have like the best experience, and that takes up half of that 6 or 8 gigs, whatever it was, allotment. So I hope it's a larger number than that.
One housekeeping note, and then we'll jump right back to this, because what we've been playing lately, we've both been playing Starfield, so we're going to talk about that. I played one other thing that I'll get out of the way, but one housekeeping note. As of recording today, I've been migrating our podcast host, which is the first time we've moved hosts in 200 episodes, probably. we had an initial host that I hated, and we moved to a different one, and so this will be our third host. But hopefully, we're going to get some better features out of it, especially with community building and some other stuff. But if there's any hiccups, if you are hearing this and after this week's episodes, you suddenly your subscription is gone or whatever, we still exist. We're still out there. The links should all still be there on the podcast services. I'm expecting nothing to break, but I do see in our analytics that some people listen to our show in very obscure ways. And some of those I don't know how to redirect. Like I'm redirecting the main RSS feed, and I'm going to update all of the big ones like Apple and Google and, Amazon and Pandora and all that. And there's a redirect on it, but there is a timeline on that because our membership through our server right now is through the end of, or not the end, but sometime in December. So sometime in December, the redirect may stop working because of the way that they did it, which I'm not real pleased with either. So anyway, if you can't find us down the line, we still exist unless we tell you that we're going to go away, which we are not saying. So with that housekeeping note, the only thing I've been playing other than Starfield is before Starfield came out, I was playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla like I had been. I met part of my goal, Spencer. I beat Assassin's Creed Valhalla's main story, but not any of the DLC. And through looking up ending videos and content online, I see that there is more to the story if I do all the extended stuff, like kill all the Order of the Ancients and hunt down some of the collectibles and things. So I'm going to play it again at some point in the future, but obviously I've stopped to play Starfield, which is what I want to talk about because we're both playing Starfield. So let's talk about it. You did just talk about with your Apple PC gaming thing you were going on a rant about. I was going to say, have you seen all the people that are upset at the quality of the PC version of Starfield? Like it's missing some pretty core features that people come to expect, like an FOV slider, and you can't manually set the texture quality, and the dynamic resolution scaling is built in, but it doesn't let you change the default resolution. It just does whatever your native monitor is, which are all things that almost all PC games have. So it feels like the Xbox was the lead platform for sure, and there's still maybe some work to be done. It's also missing DLSS, which is not a guaranteed thing since it's an AMD sponsored title, but it would be nice to have it, especially for me. I have a NVIDIA graphics card in both of my computers, so I have to use FSR 2.0 or whatever it is. I think it's 2.0, maybe it's 3.0. But it seems from the reports from Digital Foundry and others about the performance that the game is very solid on console, holding a very consistent 30 FPS. And I saw in one of Digital Foundry's videos, they're saying they think there's enough headroom that a performance mode wouldn't be out of the question down the line. Like, for example, if they made the Xbox Series S adjustments on Series X, that would probably give them enough headroom to do a 60 FPS mode. So hopefully that comes. And if it doesn't come in the next few years, you have to imagine, in 5 years or whenever it is that we get whatever the next Xbox is, that they'll come out with a special edition that unlocks 120 FPS or 60 FPS or whatever, which I know is kind of salt in the wound for some people. But between the what do you call it, motion blur and the rock solid 30 FPS, it actually feels really good for 30 FPS. It's about as solid as you could expect or want. It's still not 60, but it's a good 30, which is, I think, the important piece. Anything you want to say about performance before we talk about the game itself?
Yeah, I was going to say, I didn't really notice it being 30. I mean, I guess I noticed it, but it didn't bother me at all. I thought it was perfectly fine, honestly.
There's some weird hitching when you get on trains. Have you noticed that? When you get on the train in the New Atlantis, like the train kind of jolts a little bit.
I haven't gotten on the train yet.
You haven't
Oh
gone to New
wait. Oh
Atlantis?
yeah.
The little hub train?
Yeah, I don't remember that being a problem.
It's like the second mission. It's like I know you're at least like level 7, 8, 9, 10, so you definitely have been to New Atlantis.
No, I have. I forgot what you were talking about.
Did you get Citadel vibes from Mass Effect when you went to New Atlantis? I did.
Yeah, I think a little bit. I was taken aback by how big kind of the city is, or at least how big they make it seem. I think they said this is the biggest city that they've crafted in any of their games, and you can definitely tell.
I haven't explored enough maybe to get the full feel of it. I will say one of the criticisms I've seen online about the graphics is it's better than all of other Bethesda games in almost every way. But there are two things that I personally have noticed are not great, which is water and eyes. The eyes, especially on non like primary characters, are like dead googly eyes. And it's funny. And obviously, because of the amount of dialogue in the game, they're using programmatic like lip sync. They didn't motion capture the lip sync. It's just moving the lips open and closed based on the audio. Obviously, when you have multiple languages, and I think they said like 1 million lines of dialogue in the script, that's the way it goes. I heard an interesting explanation of how they pulled back from Fallout 4 voice protagonist, because they started Starfield with a voice protagonist and then they ended up going, no, this isn't right, and taking it out. The explanation made a lot of sense to me, which was when you're playing Fallout 4 and you get to a character dialogue choice, you read the lines in your head, right, to decide which one you're going to click.
Yeah.
And then you click on it, and the two options for the developer at that point are to either have the person say exactly what you just read in your head, and they say, so then it's basically you read it and then they said it, so you're doing it twice.
Which is like Mass Effect.
Or they say something kind of similar, and that
which
was
is
just
like Fallout 4.
Which is Fallout 4. And they
People
did
were
that
mad.
so that like what you read in your head is different than what they spoke, so it isn't repetitive, but then that frustrates players because their intent doesn't always match what they select. So with Skyrim or Starfield, you read in your head in the voice and tone that you think it should be, and then the other person reacts. And so whatever you did in your head is what the character is imbued with. And it definitely does add a role-playing element to it that is much more engaging, especially for me, somebody that played Fallout 4 and Fallout 76 extensively, but has only dabbled a little bit in Skyrim, Oblivion, Fallout 3, and New Vegas. I've never played any of those for more than 5 or 10 hours max. So I've played a lot of the Fallout 4 voice protagonists, so this was a change for me coming into their RPGs later in their like workflow.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's a mod for Fallout 4 on console and PC, I assume, where it changes the dialogue options to be the full sentence, like the full thing of what your character would actually say. It's kind of cool. I used that. It never bothered me though. Like I do recall seeing that a lot on like Reddit and Twitter, about people just being upset that you would like you just said, you'd select an option in Fallout 4, but then your character would say something that was like, 30, 40, 50% different than what the actual text said. And I don't know. I mean, like, I guess I get it if you're really particular, but it never was an issue for me. And honestly, like, I'm fine either way with having voiced or silent protagonists. Like, obviously, I love Mass Effect. I love Oblivion, Skyrim, Fallout 3, New Vegas, Dragon Age. I mean, like all those Western RPGs, I love them. So it doesn't matter to me if the protagonist is a voice. I think it's an interesting. I think it is an interesting kind of conversation to have, because I think a lot of people would argue that to be a modern RPG, you have to have a voiced protagonist, and that having a non-voiced protagonist, a silent protagonist, is kind of like an old school, like 90s, 2000s, Xbox 360 era type of a presentation. And I don't agree with that. Another example, like obviously I love The Witcher, clearly a voice protagonist. So yeah, I don't know. I think it just depends. Like for a developer like Bethesda, I think it makes sense to have a silent protagonist, because their games, I mean, they can have decent stories. Like I think Oblivion had a really great story. I think there were parts of Skyrim's story that were really good, but Fallout 3 and 4, the story wasn't as strong. But I think that's okay when you don't have the voice protagonist like in 3, because they're more about world building and I think role playing in general. So like for Starfield, obviously I'm like 6 or 7 hours into it. I don't know how good the story is going to be, but it doesn't really matter because their game is more about the world building, kind of the experience, the things that you see along the way, and the gameplay elements, not like gunplay, but just gameplay in general, exploration. It's more about that than I think it is having someone talking. So, and especially too, like if you've got really good supporting characters, like there's some good supporting characters in Skyrim and in Fallout 3 that kind of picks up the slack as far as there being fewer. I say Fallout 3 probably more than Skyrim has better characters, but I don't know. I don't think it matters as much because it's not necessarily a game that's based around your character.
I just find myself slightly more immersed.
Oh, I agree. I
feel like Mass Effect, I'm playing controlling Shepard, and Starfield, I feel like I am on an adventure. And I actually forget most of the time that my character is a female. And it's just like me on an adventure. But I'm not one of those people that makes my character look like me. I picked a default. I always pick one of the defaults. And I usually change 2 or 3 things. So I picked one of the default females. I changed the hairstyle. And I changed, I don't think I changed anything else, actually. I think I changed the hair, and that was it, to make it more look like my wife's hair.
Yeah, I always, with Bethesda games, I always make not the same, but I always do a male character because I started out back in 2006 with Bob on Oblivion. So Bob's been in Oblivion, he's been in Fallout 3, Fallout New Vegas, Skyrim, Fallout 4, and now Starfield. Bob.
That guy's seen a lot of stuff.
Yeah, he has seen a lot. The reason why I was always going to make a male character, but then I think one of the first preset characters had like that amazing like 80s mullet, and I was like, I have to do this because this is incredible. I also picked the longest beard option, but it's kind of annoying because like the beard is cool, but the mustache is like way too like 19th century or early 20th century, like a little too curly on the ends. But the other long beard options kind of suck. Like it looked a little weird.
Did you notice in the character creator that they said like you can mutate this later and they said whatever vendor, so you can change your.
Oh, I didn't know they said anything in the game about it. I saw on Twitter that you can do that you can change.
Yeah, I saw it pop up in the game. I don't remember where.
Oh, really?
It popped up. But while I was doing the character creator, it's like, or right after, it's like, hey, don't forget you can change this later at a vendor like this.
Well, I didn't know that, which is fine because like I'm not totally set because I
wonder if you can change genders. I wonder if I can go and be
Probably.
like, you know what? Now I'm Bob.
It's like Assassin's Creed, just change between female or male Ivor whenever you want. Which I didn't really like that. I kind of liked more of Odyssey, how it was pick one at the beginning. But
I did the let the Animus choose.
I did that for a while, but then I was like, I don't know. I just want to be male because the beards are cooler. Like
I thought about doing that too. I forced myself to do female because that's the canon choice, and I like to be the canon character if there is a canon character.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just gonna say, let's talk about Starfield, the game, which I say feels like Fallout 4 in space, because it has things like, instead of those little boxes with syringes on the wall, it has little med pack boxes on the wall with med packs in them, and ammo crates that look like Fallout, and just in a space style. It's like a lot of stuff feels like it's just the Fallout, but in space. It even has the opening of the vault moment, which they said all of their games always have, but it's very vault-like in this game.
I'm not gonna lie, like that whole beginning sequence from when you start playing the game to when you create your character and even like step out, it felt really rushed.
To me, I was glad because like I really don't like.
Well, it's fine. Yeah, I
doing
agree.
the intro in the vault for like 2 hours.
3 hours in Fallout 3.
Yeah, drives me nuts.
Not 3 hours, but still,
it's too long. It's like there's a balance because, like, remember Assassin's Creed, how mad people were about being like young Connor for like hours and hours and hours till they could actually be an assassin.
Well, Assassin's Creed 3 was one of the biggest missed opportunities in the entire series. So,
which I really like that game. Unpopular opinion.
Well, no,
I know,
it's a great setting with really cool supporting characters, but it still ends up being very boring for some reason.
Well, also another good reason. So the game takes the training wheels off pretty fast, right? Like the main story does keep teaching you things, but like if you just want to go wild and start doing your own thing, you can do that really soon in this game. Now you don't have many resources to do that.
Are you talking about Starfield or Assassin's Creed?
Yeah, I'm talking about Starfield. But the reason I bring that up is because it's the first Bethesda game to have New Game Plus. And if you can't keep exploring this game after you finish the game, and there's no warning of point of no return, I've read. So once you finish the last mission, it restarts the game. That's all it does. And you keep your skill points and you keep your level, and that's it. And that is a good reason to have your intro not be too long, because if people are going to cycle through multiple playthroughs over and over and over again, you don't want them to immediately be stuck in an intro that they're going to have to grind through as a seasoned player. So I think that probably factored into it. Like, what is that New Game Plus experience, since this is the first time they're doing that? Also, another big topic that's all around the internet is the amount of loading screens, because it isn't an open world game in the traditional sense. It's more like large open spaces connected by loading screens. So like you dock at a space station, you get a loading screen, and then you go into the space station, you fight, you get a loading screen to maybe go into a different room, and then you fast travel back to your ship, and then you get a loading screen to travel back to a different planet. It doesn't bother me because, like, one time I didn't realize how the fast travel system worked, and I tried to fly to my next destination, not realizing how far it was, and I was like, yeah, I'm not making any progress here. I've been flying in a straight line for like a while, and then I realized I needed to fast travel, but I was like, yeah, this is what people want the game to be. Like, if it were to be realistic and the grav drives were only for really long jumps, like, a lot of it would just be flying in a straight line, being bored out of your mind.
Yeah.
Or going at a speed that is just doesn't fit with the NASA punk aesthetic of the game. But the loading screens,
I wanted to say there are no training wheels. Like, they don't take the training wheels off really quickly. They just never give you training wheels.
Well, there are a few little pop-ups that are like, here's how to do this.
Yeah, the first time you do stuff, it's like, oh, here's 2 sentences about what this is, but like, really, you just have to figure it out for yourself.
Which is nice. I mean, like, do we really at this point in like in-depth RPGs need to be like, press A to jump, press B to crouch,
but
press
like
R to shoot your weapon?
Know that. I don't mean that. There's so much stuff in this game. Like,
yeah, like, it doesn't explain that you don't need to go into your map to fast travel. All you got to do is bring up your scanner and then point at something, and you can fast travel. There's like 4 ways to fast travel. You can fast travel from the map. You can fast travel from the visor. You can fast travel by walking up to things. You can fast travel. There was another way. Like, they really make it easy and hard, because it doesn't really tell you any of the ways that you can fast travel. So if you don't figure it out, you're going to spend a lot of time like, oh crap, I got to run all the way back to my ship.
Well, I
would get on the star map.
No way.
And then fast travel.
No way. I read
somebody in the press that thought that was the only way to get somewhere. They were running all the way to the ship.
They're stupid.
Using the star map and then fast traveling.
Literally, you open up the local map when you're on a planet, and it's default, like, why fast travel to ship. Like, it says it at the bottom of the local map always.
But you don't even have to do that step.
I know, but I'm just saying,
you can jump straight to your destination from standing.
The logical RPG player's mind, he pulls his map up to see if he can fast travel anywhere, and he sees at the bottom it says, oh, fast travel to ship. That's just, there's no excuse for that.
I hate that the back button isn't the map, that it's reset camera. The thing I'm barely ever gonna do.
Yeah, it is a little annoying trying to, I mean, it hasn't really mattered yet, because I mean, I guess I could see it being more annoying in the cities, but I spent so little time in any of them that it hasn't been an issue yet. So I've played like 6 or 7 hours, and literally until today, or until this like evening before I eat dinner, I had spent my entire time on the same planet that New Atlantis is on. I just flew to the other side of the planet where there was a mining outpost, I think, that you could stop at. I flew over there, and then there's all these things that pop up on your map that you can go discover, like I don't even know, like abandoned mining facilities or like research stations. So I literally spent probably 4 hours clearing that map for no reason. It's just what I was doing.
That's interesting. I saw a no spoiler suggestion to follow the main quest until you
Yeah, that's
reach
what a lot of people are saying, to do the
a
main
temple.
quest before. Well, what I was gonna say is a lot of people are saying, like our reviewers and such, they're saying to just do the main quest and then go to New Game Plus to do the side stuff. But I'm like,
Oh no, I'm not doing that. But
I'm not doing
what I
that
read
either. But
was
that's what I've seen.
play the main quest until you get to this, like the first. Oh, I don't know if it's the first, but like a noticeable temple type area, and that lets you know that you've gotten far enough in that you have experienced all of the firsts that it's going to teach you and things that it's going to have you interact with. Because even though it doesn't give you like tutorials, some of the missions are structured in a way to teach you without being overt. Like it teaches you the companion system through the first time you get paired up with that lady. What's her name? I haven't played in deep enough to memorize all their names.
Sarah Morgan.
Oh, I was right. I thought it was Sarah, and I was like, there's no way it's Sarah. This is 300 years in the future. It is Sarah. Yeah, and the first time you pair up with her, it's like, this companion will stay with you for the duration of the mission. It's kind of like teaching you and what that companion system
I haven't even
is.
beaten that mission yet. I've been just dragging her around that planet, and then dragging her around to find the Mantis ship that I was talking about, or I sent you.
That's
earlier.
funny. You and I played the same amount, but I'm quite a bit past you because I played all of that, and then I played several more with other companions. And
I haven't even been to the Soul System yet, which is part of that mission you do with her.
I've been in 3 different planets in the Soul System.
Yeah. Well, so like I said, I literally spent probably 3 or 4 hours on Jemison, just running around, filling up my inventory and her inventory like thrice over, and going and selling it.
I think How Long to Beat says that if you just play the main story, it's 20 hours. And if you play main story plus extras, and like an average playthrough is like 50.
That seems like there's so many star systems and planets, though.
But that's if you
they
stick
consider completionist.
No, yeah. Let me see what completionist is, because it's triple digits for sure.
It's gotta be. There's literally like there's an insane number of star systems that you can go to.
Oh, that's not.
I mean, and each one of them, I feel like would take at least 5 or 10 hours to clear out. You know?
Okay, so it says main story 17 hours, main story plus side 56, completionist 189.
Oh my gosh!
And all styles average is 40 and a half. So
40 and a half. That's crazy. That's so short.
There's no way I'm going to be a completionist in this, so I'm going to suspect I'm going to be close to like the 60 to 80 hour mark.
Yeah, okay, so a few things that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, and so for the listeners, we'll definitely be talking about Starfield for weeks to come, because we'll be continuing to play and explore. This is not a definitive review.
I picked the wanted perk so that there's like bounty hunters that come after me periodically.
Oh, not the perk. What are those called? Traits? Something else.
Yeah, trait. I picked the wanted trait along with the adoring fan one, because I was like, sure, why not?
Adoring fan. That's funny.
And then I think the other one
gives you stuff.
I forget what the other one was. Was it Neon Street Rat? Is that?
It's interesting that you picked 3 of those. I picked 0. I did not do any traits because they all had positives and negatives, and I was just like,
the adoring fan one, other than being annoying, doesn't have a negative, I don't think. I kind of wanted to pick the one with having parents, but then I was like, nah, I'm going for the Han Solo
money
vibe.
Oh, that was so funny.
I picked the rogue or whatever, so I immediately got pistol certification.
Hang on a second. What kind of benefit is it to have parents that you can go visit? That's not a tangible benefit unless you get there and they bake you apple pie and it like gives you more health.
Yeah, probably. I mean, that's what they do in like Skyrim. If you get married, your spouse gives you a home cooked meal. And it's like gives you more health than most.
Oh, there's another thing they don't explain in the game. If you take a nap, it gives you a well rested buff.
Oh, okay. It's funny you mentioned that. Okay, so the thing. So like I said, I've been dragging Sarah Morgan around with me, doing all these random things. And okay, so the wanted perk. So I had these bounty hunters attack me. We wiped them out, no big deal. And I went to their ship. And normally, from what I understand, if you get intercepted while you're in space and you disable their ship, you can board it, take them all out, and I think you can capture the ship, or you can salvage it, or you can do something with it. So I saw
take out
this.
The engines.
Right, that's how you board it. So, but I was on the planet when they showed up. So I go over to their ship and I was like, oh, heck yeah, this ship is legit. Like, it looks really cool. You can board it. I was getting excited. I took out the guys inside. And then I went to go sit down in it, and it said, this like pop-up came up that said that I'm not authorized to fly this ship. I Googled that, and apparently there's some bounty hunter ships that you can get, but it just so happened that I think the one that these guys are using was like an incredibly overpowered one, like that they don't want you to be able to get unless you're. It's not even that you have a higher piloting skill, because like some of them you can capture with a higher piloting skill, but there's like one specific one that they like you're not ever allowed to get, and this is, I guess, happened to be that one. But more importantly, when I was on the ship, I got some contraband, which I don't know if you've discovered any of this yet.
I have not done contraband.
I didn't know what it was. I saw this like box sitting on one of the tables, and it was like a 20,000 credit value box, and I was like, "Whoa, what's that?" And I picked it up, obviously, and then there was a pop up that said like, "This is contraband," like blah 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 blah. Like, you'll get in trouble if you get
really getting the Han Solo vibe going.
Yeah, you get in trouble if you get caught with this, because when you go to like settled systems, they scan you, like the security forces scan you first, which
really feels like Star Wars. We're scanning you before you enter the.
Yeah, and so I was like, okay, cool, whatever. What you have to do is you have to get a shielded cargo hold. Like, if you have the contraband on your person or you don't have a shielded cargo hold, like, you get found out no matter what. But if you have a shielded cargo hold,
can you like kill everybody? Or
this is what happened. I was like, okay, so I sent that video to you and Gus about how you can get a really nice ship and armor pretty early on. I was going to do that, but it's like all the way across the galaxy, and so naturally with the stupid starting ship, I don't have enough fuel to go in a straight shot. I have to like jump from system to system basically to get there. So I had to make three jumps from where I happened to be. And the first one I go to, it's the other major faction, and they start scanning me, and they're like, "You have contraband." Like, they found out immediately, and they like they give you like a warning.
Those are
like,
some amazing scanners, by the way.
Yeah, and they're like, "All right, you." They give you
Imagine
a warning.
if we had that at the border of country crossings. Like, you have pairs, you can't cross.
Yeah,
you have pairs with worms.
And so they scan me, and they like give you like a warning and like countdown. They're like, all right, you have to like respond to their hail, or I guess not respond to it, and then they'll I guess board you, and then I think you get arrested, and there's like a side quest of getting out of jail or something. I don't know, but I just ignored it. I ignored it, and then immediately they started shooting at me, and this game is so overwhelming, and there's not like an easy, clear way to make a jump or anything, and so I like pulled the map up and made a jump out, and now I have like a 900 credit bounty or whatever in the Freestar Collective or whatever they're called.
That's nice.
It happened to me a second time, and
this is so funny.
No, and it was annoying. So it happened to me the second time, and I actually shot down.
Annoying? You're the one breaking intergalactic law.
So I'm level 7, and
I'm a law-abiding citizen over here.
So where I'm jumping to do this mission that has this easy way to get a good ship early on with a shielded cargo bay isn't a level 30 system. Along the way, I'm going through a level 20 system, and I'm level 7 or 6. And so I'm attacking this level 20 like police ship, we'll say, blow it up. And of course, it's attacking me first, by the way. And of course, Sarah Morgan thinks that I literally just murdered an entire family. It says like the pop-up says Sarah Morgan hated that. Or Sarah Morgan disliked that, and then it said Sarah Morgan hated that, and then it said Sarah Morgan's angry at you. And I can hear her in the background saying like all this stuff like, "Stop doing that. I can't believe you're killing innocent people." And I'm like, first of all, these guys attacked me first. All right. They shot at me first.
We played the same amount of time, and you're getting up to all of these hijinks.
And but yeah, I blew it up, and I got the salvage or whatever. And
So
yeah, and I was like, really, you're mad at me? And so now every time I'm done talking with her, she like has like these comments of like, good, I was done talking to you anyway. And I'm like, listen, I blew up one starship,
I
probably
did get that
killed.
from. I got that from a guy named Cole that is part of Constellation. You'll meet him in the next mission. Uh, I cut him off mid sentence to get out of the conversation. He's like, "Oh yeah, I was done talking anyway. It's fine." I was
That's
like,
funny. But yeah,
"Okay,
so I
I
get to
gotta deal with
the
NPCs being snippy with me now."
but yeah, I finally got to the snow planet where I was getting this ship, and it probably took me 2 hours to get through this compound because all the enemies were either level 14. It was very random. They were like 14, 28, and 30. So I used up like all of my aid supplies, almost all my ammo. I got to the end and got the special suit and also activated the starship, and I had no health left and no supplies, so I went and took a nap. Like every good Bethesda RPG player knows, you go to sleep and it regenerates your health. So I did that, and then I got the well rested bonus for sleeping 1 hour.
Okay, so
Um,
it is only 1 hour. I was curious what the length minimum was.
yeah,
So imagine Harrison Ford, Air Force One voice, Multiform, an Xbox podcast is now Multiform, a Starfield podcast.
yeah. Well, so
Blah 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 is now Air Force One.
the last thing that I
He doesn't actually
did,
say that, so I don't know why I said use your Harrison Ford voice.
the last thing I did was I jumped off that planet and went back to New Atlantis, got through the scanners with 59% chance, made it through. Now I'm gonna go sell
Interesting.
my contraband to whoever. I need to look up who buys contraband because there's somebody in New Atlantis that does. I just don't know who
And
it
you
is.
gotta pay off your bounty.
That's a
Buy
different.
off
That's
your
a different government. No, the
Oh,
whoever
okay.
is it the UC or the I don't know.
United Federation
I don't
or
know the factions yet, but the
I don't
faction that
either.
controls New Atlantis does not have a bounty on me. It's a different faction that has a bounty on me.
Uh,
But
100% achievements says the guides say that it's 100%, 100 hours to do 100% of the achievements if you're efficient, because it takes 25 hours for story, 25 hours for faction missions, and then a lot of time to grind to level 100, which is interesting because I guess you have to. Here's the part that stinks, Spencer. If you're like me and you only want to do one playthrough, I don't really want to play New Game Plus. That means I can never finish the last mission, because once I do that, it forces me back to the beginning of the game. So, well, no, that's not true. I'll just have to do a hard save right before I finish the game, and then I can go
yeah,
back to that hard save. I forget in Bethesda games you can save anywhere, anytime, and unlimited saves.
oh yeah, I didn't have to save Scum because there was a nice autosave when I was doing that
You
two
really
hour
are
long.
Han Solo. You're just scumming it all over
Yeah,
the
it was
galaxy.
cool. I sent you guys a picture of or I sent you guys some messages earlier today about how there's some, they call them old world pistol or old world shotgun, stuff like that in this game, and they're like 21st century guns and stuff that we have in real life right now, and I already found a couple inside that layer that I had to clear out. So I was pretty hyped about that. Immediately, I used up all the ammo. There was only like 10 shots for the pistol, the 1911 variant. So I'm gonna have to figure out. Now that I'm back in New Atlantis, I'm about to spend like 15,000 credits on aid supplies and ammunition since I just used almost
I'm
all of
always
mine.
out of aid supplies and ammunition. Do you think that we will get a day one patch on what's the official release date?
Wednesday
Is
the
it 3 days?
6th.
Yeah. Do you think we're going to get a day one patch, or do you think
I
it'll be a
haven't
while
had
still?
I haven't had any problems. I mean, the things that I've seen, I don't think could be fixed with a patch. Like I've just seen like some really bad AI stuff, but I haven't seen any like insane bugs, or I've not had any crashes or anything like that. But I
I
mean,
did
maybe.
I did boot it up on my my PC as well. I played on Series X and PC. And on my 3070 Ti, I was only able to play I had I was playing on high 1440p, but I had FSR on, I think, and some resolution scaling, and I was hitting roughly 60, but that was in an early area with not a lot going on. So it seems like when I have this installed on my laptop for when I travel, it seems like I'm going to need to really tune things down for it to run on a 3070 Ti laptop, but we'll see. I'll get to it
Yeah,
eventually.
to your point about characters' eyes looking glassy, I just spent so much of my time only looking at animals and trees and rocks that I really haven't seen
I
a lot
hope
of
you were
people
scanning
yet.
them all.
Oh, I did. I'm at like
Scan the crap out of
85%.
stuff.
scan complete for Jemison.
Oh,
Never
yeah.
going to go back. Probably never going to go back. I do have a quest that I think I have to go back for, so maybe I will. But
yeah, also another thing, people are like complaining. They're like, "Oh, they touted all this exploration. I can't walk all the way around a planet." And I was like,
yeah,
"You literally wanted to walk around like if you want to walk around a procedurally generated planet, that's what No Man's Sky is." I I get that it's like curated little stuff, but I mean, it's kind of how Mass Effect 1 was, you know? You'd land on the planet and it would be like the little area, and then you'd take
yeah.
off and go to a different planet.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. Like, yeah, I saw people complaining about that, and I'm like, really? Like,
There was
like I
that was
said, it
it's
took me
funny because
so
the same
long.
people were complaining before that it was too big, right? There's too many planets, they're all going to be empty. But then when
Well,
we see the
and
planets and they're all
there's
like
so much. Like,
a
you think it's
manageable
not that
size.
much, but there is a ton. Like, I spent hours finishing just part of one planet.
I can't
So
wait for like 6 years from now. Somebody's going to find an Easter egg on planet 6,743, and they're going to be like, "Oh, look, I found my name in cursive in the moon of this star system 7 billion galaxies away."
yeah, maybe. I don't know.
Okay, is that
I
enough?
don't even know
Anything
what
else we
else
want
to
to say about
say.
this
Yeah,
before next week?
I don't even know what else to say just because like there's just so much. Like it's
Well,
all very overwhelming. Like we didn't even talk about all the different like crafting things you can do. I
I
mean,
haven't even
obviously
gotten
neither
into
of us are
crafting yet.
nowhere near base building, but
Yeah,
there's
base
like
building and shipbuilding, it
I've
seems like
changed
you
the
can do
color of my
early
ship.
on.
That's
Oh,
basically all I've done. On both my ships actually. Now that I have two, I have one I painted blue and the other one I've painted black. Very
yeah, I
creative, I
can't
know.
wait to get far enough into the game where I have some like high end materials and money and stuff to like really make a cool ship. The shipbuilding piece of it is something I'm really excited about. Although, I mean, your ship, you fly around in space, so in that regard, this is what people wanted from Destiny all along. You know how like in the menu
Yeah.
your ship is floating, but you really just see it take off and land, and that's it. Oh, well, this has space flight. And I think Bethesda made the right decision in not making it so you can take off yourself. Like that experience is cool once, but then from then on, it's like, okay, now I got to wait for my ship to fly up into space. After 5 or 10 times, that's going to be lame. Although watching the little video, I wish I could skip that. I know they're using it to hide it loading behind the scenes, but like there's a lot of things that like another one, getting into the cockpit and pulling up the like controls. Let me rush that. Like I don't need to see him pull up the controls every single time that I get in my ship. I want to be able to like, in some games you can hit a button and it'll happen a little bit faster because you rushed it along, like almost like nudging my character like hurry up and go. I don't really want to watch, they sit down, they pull the console forward, they flip little things from the side, blah blah blah. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, just let me fly. I got things to do. I got people to kill. I got bugs to find. Let's go. Okay, well, we'll be talking about it more in the weeks to come, especially with story. We're each only 10 hours in, so it's in no way a
Not
definitive
even 10 hours.
review. Well, I meant 10 hours or less. And that's just kind of our early impressions.
How do you feel about the combat, like the gunplay and stuff? I think it's
Hang on
pretty
one
good.
second. I'll be right back.
Uh-oh. Tim's got to go deal with Tim's home alone right now, so he's got to go deal with the kids jumping out of their beds, being bad. But I'll answer my own question. So I actually don't mind the gunplay. Like people were kind of comparing it, I think, to Cyberpunk 2077. I think it is kind of similar to that. A lot of the guns feel kind of similar to guns in Cyberpunk. Like the shotguns, for example, I think kind of feel a lot alike. A lot of the SMGs, the Grendel, it feels like something out of Cyberpunk. I do think it might be a little bit better. I think the pistols are pretty satisfying. I haven't gotten a sniper rifle or a DMR or anything like that. I've only used pistols, shotgun, SMG, and kind of that starting assault rifle thing. Forget what it's called, the Maelstrom, I think. But yeah, I think it's not bad. It feels probably better than Fallout 4. And speaking of which, like I talked about earlier, with kind of those tie-ins with some real world guns like the 1911, the VSS, and I think I forget. I don't know if it's a Winchester pump shotgun or what it's supposed to be, but I love that. Like that makes it so much more interesting to me. Something that Fallout it always bothered me that Fallout never did was have more guns that seemed like guns in real life. So I am really excited about kind of that idea that there's more um, realistic, we'll say, guns. And since, like I said, I've already found a couple like that, they feel pretty satisfying to use. Um, and then, like I said earlier, I have the pistol certification already because I chose that perk or whatever it's called. So I've basically been using pistols mostly, and then assault rifles. But it's pretty good. It's not amazing. Like, it's not Destiny, it's not Call of Duty, it's not Wolfenstein, but it's good. I think it's better. Like I said, I think it's definitely better than Fallout 4. It's probably same tier as Cyberpunk, maybe a little worse than Cyberpunk, but it's not bad. Tim's back, so he can talk about gunplay if he wants to.
I'm back. I love that you kept going. I didn't know if you would. And when I got back and you were still talking, I was like, great. This is great. What did you say? I had my 4-year-old daughter, well, she's almost 4, snuck up behind me out of her bed and was drinking water in the kitchen, which is a no-no because kids and water at bedtime. And so I went and tucked her back in. Yeah, I'm the only one home right now. So I knew that was going to happen. It always does.
I said Tim was home alone and that one of the kids must be out running around.
Yeah, so when I'm gaming, when I'm playing Starfield and my wife's in bed, my wife will Xbox message me the word jailbreak and it'll pop up on the little notification toast. And that's to let me know that a kid has escaped their bedroom and is running around the house somewhere. And then we play hunt and find and see what nonsense the kids are up to. Very minor anecdote. Funniest thing that's happened recently in Kidland. My daughter had a piece of her toenail that she didn't like and wanted to, trim it. And she had seen her mom trim her toenails many, many times. I do it occasionally, but mostly her mom does. So she thought, okay, I can do it myself. But she didn't have access to nail clippers. So she went and got like a 4 or 5 inch pair of scissors and was trying to trim her toenails with the world's largest scissors in toddler hands. She was about ready to cut her toe off. And I walked into the room and was like, no, I screamed it. It scared the whole house. And now all the scissors in the house are hid, which they were already hidden. That's a terrible grammatical mistake, but they were already sort of hidden, but she has now learned where the sort of hidden was. So now they're completely out of reach. But what happens is I put them out of reach so much that the adults can't find them. And then my wife needs to cut something. Spencer's sister. I don't know why I'm saying my wife. The audience doesn't know her. And then she can't find the scissors and they end up back in a drawer because my wife forgets that I hid them and we can't find them. It's a cycle. Anyway, kids are fun. Spencer, you were about to ask me a question about Starfield. Gunplay? Was that what you were going to ask me?
Yeah, and then I talked about it myself.
It does feel very much like what you said about Cyberpunk. It does feel very close to Cyberpunk. Like it's definitely not fluid like a shooter primary game like a Call of Duty, a Halo, those kinds of games.
Yeah.
But it doesn't feel rigid like Fallout 3. Like the reason they needed VATS was because of how rigid their combat felt.
Yeah.
So the best thing I can say about it is that like I don't hate it. Like when I'm doing it, I'm like, this is great. This is fine. Like, and that's what I need it to be. It needs to go into the background. Yeah. The most annoying thing about Bethesda games is that you're always out of ammunition no matter what you do until you get enough money or enough access that you can just like flood your inventory, which also I have learned that I am an RPG hoarder. So I did the class that had weightlifting perk right off the get-go so that I would have the ability to carry more stuff.
Yeah, I was immediately picking everything up because I was
hoarding.
Like, I don't know what I need because in Fallout 4 I might need this because I need aluminum or I need rubber or something like that for customization, base building and stuff like that. So I was like, I'm just going to pick everything up because I know you can build bases and
then you were full after 5 minutes.
Yeah, but then also like I don't actually know if any of this stuff is useful. So
I don't think it is. Game Informer had an article that was like no spoilers, like tips. I think it was Game Informer, and it was basically like don't pick up a bunch of nonsense. But
so like how they've improved the dialogue of your followers, like they'll like make comments when you over encumber yourself that are kind of funny.
They're like, I haven't heard any of those.
Yeah, she's always like, why are you picking all that junk up? Or like, maybe you should think about dropping some stuff that isn't that important. Things like that. And I'm like, that's funny.
I shoved it all into my cargo hold. Like I have all these extra like spacesuits and backpacks and jump packs and stuff.
Yeah, you should do that. Watch that YouTube video I sent you and do that because I got so much good loot. Like a bunch of good, like 2 or 3 really good guns, like 2 sets of incredible armor, and there's no level cap on stuff. So like that pistol that I got does like 6 times the amount of damage that my current pistol did. So like literally I was two-shotting these level 30 enemies at level 7 because it was like a level 30 pistol essentially that I immediately, like I said, ran out of ammo for. So I'm gonna have to buy some because there's like 10 on the guy that had it.
Another thing I forgot to mention, the music, the score.
Super good.
Amazing. Yeah, it accentuates all the like heroic moments. Atmospheric is a great way to put it. It's very, very good.
Yeah, it is really good. And the detail. I feel like the level of and they're always good at this. Bethesda's always been good at world building, but just the level of detail, like in interior spaces, even on your ship. Like when you got on your ship the first time, I was like, "Holy cow, this is so cool!" Like you said, like the NASA punk. Like it feels like a combination of like Interstellar, The Martian, like Star Trek, maybe with kind of the laser guns. The laser guns feel very Star Trek. Like they do not feel like Fallout or Star Wars. They feel like Star Trek guns.
Did you see that people looked at the credits and found the guy that made the clutter mod for other Bethesda games? They hired him and he helped clutter this game. So that's part of why there's better decoration.
It did honestly, like a lot of the interior spaces, especially on your ship and on other ships, did remind me a lot of some of those Fallout 4 mods that I had myself on Xbox and that I've seen people on YouTube, employ of like interior mods or just like not quite settlement mods, but like home mods, we'll call it, where you go in and it's a super detailed and lived in space that, I mean, Bethesda does a good job, but those modders just do like such an incredible job that you could definitely tell that they stepped it up for this for sure.
You should go watch the Digital Foundry video because they did a test and they got a bunch of soap dispensers, I think like 5 or 10 of them, and they went and threw them in the corner of a bathroom in a pile. And then he went to 10 different planets and did a bunch of missions. And then he went back to that planet, to that bathroom, to see if it persisted in the exact locations that he left it in. And it did. He wanted to test like the limit of object permanence in Bethesda games.
That's pretty cool.
And so that's why Bethesda games don't look as good as some other games, is they are using a lot of CPU and
on the back end,
power to organize and keep track of like all these objects across all this stuff. I assume that it's like an XYZ axis metric that is like a line on a spreadsheet in the database of the game. Yeah. But still, it's just impressive for the sheer amount of objects that exist. Yeah, but I also wondered about that because like when I got it, my place in Constellation, my bedroom, the first thing I did is go pick up the little watch box that looks like the collector's edition. Mm-hmm. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this, but I'm going to take it. And I was like, I wonder if it's like, now there's certain things that if I take them, I'm like, is that gone forever now? Like my ship, let's say I take all the clutter that is not pinned down out of my ship.
I think it's now in your inventory.
Yeah.
The only reason why I think that is because when you go to
cargo hold, I know it is. But I'm saying, can I like strip my whole ship and like put it all in the cargo hold?
Yeah, well, I think it's already in
everything
the cargo
that
hold.
isn't.
I'm pretty sure it's already in the cargo hold. It's very weird because the reason why I think that is because if you go to your cargo hold, you remember that there's like that helmet on the shelf that has like the paint or the strip of tape across it that says "Do not use me." It's like sitting on a shelf by the bed, and if you go to your cargo hold, it's in the cargo hold. Like you can equip it from the cargo hold. So I don't know if it's like. I'm assuming it's probably just the stuff that the game already put there. Like if you go and drop a gun in the hallway, it's not going to morph into your cargo hold. But like the stuff that Bethesda put there is already in the cargo hold.
I accidentally cleaned out my inventory while sitting in the captain's chair, forgot where I was. And so I got up and all of my loot just fell out on the floor. Yeah. And I was like, this is object permanence. So I had to pick it all up.
That's the funny thing about that base that I was talking about. Like you get to at the bottom of it where you finally got that ship and there's just a massive stack of like guns and armor and jump packs and all this stuff that I was like, I just was dropping because it was worth less, like the least valuable stuff. I was just dropping it all. And so there's just a huge pile of guns at the end bottom of this dungeon that somebody's never going to find. I guess I could go back and pick it all up if I really wanted to and go sell it. Maybe I will. I don't know.
Yeah, if you get desperate someday.
I mean, I've got like 40,000 credits, so I've so already that quickly in, so I don't really need the money.
I think one of the
I need to
perks I'm
hire
gonna.
some people.
I
Have
forgot
you
you can do that.
Yeah, I went into like this bar. Like that was the first thing I did in New Atlantis. Like you go in, turn to the left, and there's a bar right there, and there's like a bunch of people in there that like you can hire, and they were all like 10,000, 12,000, or like 15,000 credits, and I had like 3 at the time. So I was like, okay, well, no, can't afford to hire any of you.
It's
But,
funny.
yeah.
Well, I think it lives up to the hype. That's
Yeah.
what I'm going with. It's getting like 87, 88 on Metacritic.
Yeah. I
Seems to be
thought
generally well received.
yeah, the last thing I'll say, because I just keep thinking of things to
I think you've
say.
said this is the last thing I'll say at least 3
Yeah.
times.
Well, so when I landed on that planet, it was a snow planet. It was kind of like Hoth, like blustery snow and all that. It was kind of cool. And Vasco he always sits at the bottom of the ramp. And they started like the enemies that are there started shooting at the ship, and so Vasco like started sprinting out after them. And that was kind of cool. It's kind of like built-in ship defense. I kind of wish you could have more than one follower because I'd like to have him follow me, but also the I would say is the only real big negative that I've seen so far. Like half the time Sarah doesn't help in firefights. She'll just like stand in the back like and face the wall. Like stand at straight at attention and just like do nothing.
Oh yeah, well, in New Atlantis, I had the jump pack, so I jumped over a
I still need
railing
to
to
figure
get
out how to
down.
do that. Oh, I know. Yep.
You have to
Yep.
have the first perk, and so I jump, and she goes, "What do you expect me to do? Jump off a ledge?"
Yep.
And I'm
Same thing
like,
happened
and
to
so,
me, except I didn't have a
and then
jump
like,
pack. I broke my leg.
oh, so then like I have to wait for her to run all the way around,
Yeah.
and it takes her forever.
Yeah.
No,
Yep.
yeah, I think I have jump packs with my kit from the beginning of the game. I don't think I put a point. No, I didn't. I had to put a point into it. So you have to have at least 1 point into it in the skill tree, and then
Mm-hmm.
you have to have one, which you get one from
Yeah, you get them.
Constellation,
You
I
get them
think.
pretty easily. You get one automatically from Constellation, and then like tons
Yeah.
of enemies drop them.
Now I can't really go very high. I basically can break my fall. I get basically 2 boosts out of it, which is not
Yeah.
very much. Maybe 3 if I pause for a second between them, but at least will break my fall or help me jump over stuff that's fairly high, which is nice. But also, it's just, it's cool. Who doesn't want a jetpack? Okay, well, let's talk about some news from the week. And that was we're an hour in, and we've only talked about Starfield, so it's a good week. The biggest news of the week, in my opinion, except for Starfield Early Access, is that Embracer Group has closed Volition Games. So Volition Games, developer of Red Faction, Descent, Saints Row, as well as other games. They've been a studio for, I believe, almost 30 years. And we talk about them a lot on the show because we have a lot of love for Saints Row, at least the earlier versions of it. And I have a lot of love for Descent. I played that on PC as a kid. And what's crazy about that is I have no idea how we even got a copy of a disc of Descent. I think we bought a computer at like a Best Buy or a Walmart or something 30 years ago, and it came on with it. You used to get a bunch of discs with your computer when you bought it, or I don't know. I think it was like a compact, so I don't know. Maybe I got it from that. But yeah, I had Descent on PC way back then. One of the earliest gaming memories I have outside of Genesis and Nintendo. And they shut them down, and it was effective immediately. This is part of like the consequences of them not getting that $2 billion deal that fell through. They also, this one was unconfirmed, but there were also rumors that they were scaling back at Gearbox Publishing. But that one I didn't see firm confirmation of as of publishing time. Now, they also said Saints Row and Red Faction will live on at PlayOn, which PlayOn is the parent company of their parent company now. So that's not a developer. That just means that somebody else will have the opportunity to work on these IP. I tweeted this out, but Agents of Mayhem, horribly, maybe one of the biggest bombs of the last 10 years as far as like a AAA game that truly just sells almost no units. And then Saints Row didn't exactly light the world on fire, but it's still rough to see them shut down because they have a storied history. And this is the only developer that I've ever been to their studio, because we're in Indiana and they're just a few hours west of us in Illinois, in Champaign, Illinois. And I did get to attend their studio before we were doing this podcast. It was probably 6 years ago, maybe 7. At the time, they were working on Agents of Mayhem, I believe. Or was it Saints Row? I think it was Agents of Mayhem at the time. And it was just before E3 that year. And I got some cool shots of their lobby with all the memorabilia and stuff. I should pull those out and share them on social media. But this is sad news, not unexpected. It's probably pretty hard to hire talent in Champaign, Illinois, unless they're remote. Spencer, I'm going to stop talking. You feel it. What do you feel about this?
Yeah, that was my comment. I think I tweeted about it. That Volition was one of the few AAA studios not on the east or the west coast of the United States, or in Montreal, or not Montreal, like Toronto, like a major city in Canada or elsewhere. Most studios are concentrated on the coast, which obviously, like you said, kind of lends to it being more difficult to,
or overseas
in Europe or Japan, which makes it obviously then more difficult, like you said, to kind of acquire or attract talent, because not many people. I mean, Champaign's a decent place; it's a college town, so like there's more things there than maybe most Midwestern cities. But
big talent isn't moving there, is my point. Like, you're not getting somebody to move to Champaign. Is a college town, but it's not exactly. Like, as far as Illinois goes, it's about as far as you can get from Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
The nearest cities are St. Louis and Indianapolis. And even those, like St. Louis isn't exactly a booming city anymore. Indianapolis is fairly large, but again, these are not like prestige cities. You're not living in the nicest places.
Yeah, I
mean, we live in Indianapolis. I'm not trying to crap on Indianapolis, but you know what I mean? Like, developers tend to be high wealth people that live in nicer locations, and a lot of the studios are places people want to be.
Yeah, so just in general though, I mean, I wasn't entirely shocked to hear about this, just because of the last 6 or 7 years have been pretty rough for them, with it, like you said, and like we've talked about a lot, at Agents of Mayhem being pretty bad, and then Saints Row 2022 being pretty bad. So it wasn't, from that perspective, entirely surprising to see them close. And then, kind of like what you said, the $2 billion deal falling through, I feel like that kind of connects to the other part of this equation, which is Embracer Group, like, spending all that money in the last 5 years and really not having a plan. It seems like we all kind of thought, like, they're going to keep acquiring.
They got to have
studios.
A plan. Nope. Turns out they're just buying up everything.
Yeah, they're going to spend all this money acquiring studios and IP. Like, they've got to have something cooked up here, but no, not really. It seems like they're kind of were just shooting from the hip and seeing what they could acquire, and now they're having to trim the fat. Now they're having to cut some studios loose and cut some stuff loose, like, because this isn't the first thing that they've shut down in the last 6 to 12 months. I forget what the other ones were, but
first one of major consequence. There were a couple other smaller things.
Yeah,
and they said more to come, I think.
Yeah, I don't know. At least I guess it's good that Red Faction and Saints Row live on. But honestly, like, I mean, it's been 12 years since we've had a Red Faction game, and Saints Row hasn't been relevant in about 10 years, I would argue.
But that's all. Like, that's all Embracer's been doing, is bringing back like old franchises with AA remasters and like new games that are not exactly the highest of budgets. I think the biggest problem was the Saints Row reboot didn't go far enough in modernizing it. Like, when you look at the difference between Grand Theft Auto PS2, Grand Theft Auto PS3, and Grand Theft Auto PS4, or 360, Xbox One, you know what I mean? Like, there were huge jumps from Grand Theft Auto 3 to 4 and 4 to 5, and you didn't get that with Saints Row. Like, the gameplay was roughly the same with slight tone edge taken out of it, and the graphics being better, but the same gameplay wasn't enough in the modern era. By the way, they're giving that game away on PS Plus. It was announced like the day prior to them announcing the studio closure. So Embracer is getting a paycheck from PlayStation while they're letting go of the people. And also, I think Embracer got what they wanted. They got the IP, and they really didn't care about a studio in the middle of America that employs, not that many people No, it's got to be way less.
200 or
I'm gonna look
300.
it up.
I'm on their Wikipedia page. It says 236. I just pulled it up.
Oh wow, okay.
Also,
so that's significant.
They were
I would have thought
old.
lower.
They were 30 years old. They were founded on June 14th, 1993. So just turned 30 a couple months ago.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Yeah,
I wanted to like the new Saints Row. You know, they did that free weekend.
The thing is, though, I'm still going to buy it. Once it's under $20 or probably $15 at this point, I'm going to buy it. So
I am too, or I'll play it on PlayStation because I'll get that one for free. But I just haven't. I have enough games to play. Like I want to get to more Cyberpunk time, more Starfield time, more Assassin's Creed time. It's getting to the point where I'm having less and less time for games that are the two types of games that are starting to be squeezed out of my gaming time are indie games and what I would call games that didn't quite live up to their potential. Like Starfield is a game that I would enjoy, or not Starfield. Oh my gosh. Saints Row is a game I would probably enjoy, but it's just not as good as other things that are options. So it's hard to justify putting time into that when I could play a better game. Whereas before, I had enough time to play all the good games that I wanted to play and then squeeze in some that were not quite as good that I just wanted to have fun with. Like I played Gotham Knights. That's a terrible game. I don't recommend it to anyone, but I'm a DC Comics nerd, so I played it. But my free time is getting less and less, and so those choices have to be made, which isn't great for podcasting because it means that the games I'm talking about are genuinely large franchises with a few indies sprinkled in here. But it's also like, I try to remind myself the show isn't trying to be, IGN.com, your source of news. It's just three idiots in the Midwest that want to talk about games, so we're doing it. And if you want to do it with us, you can. And from that lens, it's fine. I mean, we also talk about World of Warships and all kinds of other nonsense that you're not going to hear on any other podcast for Xbox, at least. Okay, let's move on. Unless you had anything else you want to add about Volition.
No. Have you played any of the Red Faction games?
I've played one of them, and I own several of them because they gave them away with games with gold. At least two of them, I think.
Yeah.
But no. To me, they were always just lackluster.
I played Guerrilla, Red Faction Guerrilla, which was the third game, the one that came out. It was a 360 game. Came out like I
played some of that one,
2009,
and I played one of the other ones.
Super cool. I mean, the destructibility and all that. It's funny
third person,
too,
right?
Yeah, and just running around with like the sledgehammer, just smashing things. It was pretty fun. It is funny because it's in the same universe as Saints Row. Like there's a couple crossover companies. Like there's companies that are in Saints Row that like their future versions are on Mars. Yeah.
Or it's just an Easter egg.
I mean, I think they've said that they're in the same universe. Like Red Faction is in the future, several hundred years in the future.
Like I wanted Watch Dogs and Assassin's Creed to be in the same universe canonically. It just makes sense. Hackers would be the modern equivalent of an assassin,
I guess.
In a way. Anyway, okay. The next three stories I have are all about Bethesda stuff in and around Starfield, but not actually Starfield. So I'm just going to lump these all together as we'll break them down, but we'll call this 2, 3, and 4. The first one is number 2. Elder Scrolls 6 is entering official production, now that Starfield is out. Now, obviously, they're still working on Starfield, and they're going to do DLC. They've already announced the first DLC expansion, and there will be more. But some people aren't needed for certain things, so you can have some trades within the company work on Elder Scrolls that are no longer needed on Starfield, for example. Like, maybe you don't need a texture artist at certain times, so you put those on whatever. Plus, they're probably in the concepting phase, but
no,
I don't know.
They're beyond the concepting phase, Tim. We have to have
That's
hope.
true. Once you enter production, you kind of
we are out of pre-production. We are in production, baby. This sucker is coming out in 5 years. 2028, we will be playing Elder Scrolls 6.
Okay, the next one, number 3. Pete Hines says Redfall will be a good game eventually, and then he went on to compare it to Fallout 76, which I would argue Fallout 76 was much better at launch than Redfall was at launch. Like Fallout 76 was acceptable and was made better. Redfall is bad, and is it just me or they've been dead silent? Like they better be working on some huge massive patch to save Redfall because they have not said anything. They have not released patches. there's been no, I mean, part of it is they're probably letting Starfield be the one to take all the attention, but before the end of the year, you better have a big like 2.0 patch for Redfall. I still will never play it because the achievements are all odd numbers. That makes me so mad. And I know it's stupid. I know it's unreasonable. Maybe I'll check it out on my wife's profile so I don't get any achievements. That's how serious I am. But I'll wait and see how it shakes out. Any thought?
About what,
Believe it when you see
Redfall?
it.
Yeah, I don't care. Elder Scrolls 6 though, baby, entering production. Ugh.
Okay.
I need it so badly. I know I know literally Starfield has been out for like 2 seconds, but man, I need Elder Scrolls 6. Like the fact that it's going to be 17 years at least. That's insane. That's like Hollywood these days coming up with sequels to 80s movies for the first time because they're like, well, we're out of ideas. Let's wheel 65-year-old Mel Gibson out here to do a Lethal Weapon 6 because there's nothing else we can do at this point.
We are in the reviving dead franchises mode of Hollywood right now.
Exactly.
Or bringing back old sequels.
That's what Elder Scrolls 6 is going to feel like, even though it's like video games are different, I don't know. It's craziness.
It is crazy. I'm still looking forward to that Fallout 4 next gen patch.
The
other Bethesda stories I had, number 4, is that Bethesda did a real world collectible. They have released 1,001 Starfield billboards across the world, and they are numbered. So if you wanted to collect them all, which nobody obviously is going to make it to all 1,001 billboards, but I think the idea is that people would take pictures of the billboards, and online that people would like be able to collectively capture pictures of all 1,001 billboards for Starfield. It's an interesting idea. 1,001 seems like a very ambitious number. I think they did that because the whole more than 1,000 planets in Starfield thing. That's my guess. It's a cool thing. It means nothing, but I'm calling it a real world collectible. But yeah, it sounds like something you do in a video game, right? Like in Spider-Man, you go around and you take pictures of buildings or you find backpacks. Well, in this, you go around the world finding billboards, only it would be really expensive because not only would you not know where they are, but you would have to fly there and have a private jet or just a lot of airfare travel. So, okay, number 5. Elder Scrolls 6 entered production. So has Witcher 4. CD Projekt Red says a big part of the Cyberpunk team is moving on to The Witcher 4 after the Phantom Liberty launch. So we know Phantom Liberty is going to be the only expansion for Cyberpunk 2077. So it makes sense that they would move on to The Witcher 4. And obviously they're also moving on from the Red engine and they're moving to Unreal for The Witcher 4. So that is why they've said they're only doing one expansion. It's because they're changing engine technologies and they can't do that within the same game. Sorry, what did you just say?
I said that probably makes sense. It's probably a good idea, changing engines.
Yeah, it is.
Which one's going to come out first? Witcher 4 or Elder Scrolls 6?
Oh, I told you that's an easy guess. I would put $1,000 on Witcher 4 coming out before Elder Scrolls 6.
100%.
They also, number 6, Cyberpunk 2077, they confirmed what's in the free update for 2.0 and what's in Phantom Liberty.
I would want to know what the odds on Mass Effect 4, Witcher 4, and Elder Scrolls 6. Obviously Witcher 4, okay, so Mass Effect 4 and Elder Scrolls
Witcher 4
6.
First, Mass Effect, then Elder Scrolls last.
No, because
Elder Scrolls is not going to come out for 8 years.
But Dragon Age Dreadwolf still has to come out. So it has to come out before they shift all into Mass Effect. And that
even though
that
EA seems to be even though EA seems to be in a mess right now, you're right, it's a coin flip. I still feel like Mass Effect should come out first, but
I don't think so. I don't think so just because I don't think Dreadwolf's coming out until like next fall.
Yeah, they seem to be having a lot of trouble.
And if that doesn't come out until 2024, I mean that's like Mass Effect 4 would be, I don't know,
a year long by that point.
I don't know.
They at least will have to start it. Okay, so we had questioned what was going to be paid content in Phantom Liberty and what it was going to be in the free update 2.0. So this is what is officially in the free update. I'm going to make this bigger so I can actually read their exact wording here. So the stuff that'll be in the free update is redesigning skill trees and perks, revamping cyberware and new capacity system, vehicle combat and car chases, combat AI improvements, new police system, UI and UX improvements, loot items and crafting changes, and new radio stations, including a community radio station, Growl FM. So everything else is paid content, like the level cap increase, missile launchers, new items, new missions, new skill tree, relic skill tree, quests, new quests, Dogtown, the new area, and the new storyline. So I think it all lays out the way you would expect it to, but it's nice that like a lot of that game related stuff, like as far as how the game plays and you interact with stuff, is being given to people that already own the game. So you're basically just not getting the new content, the new items, the new missions, the new location, that kind of stuff. You're getting it kind of lays out just the way you'd expect it to. Spencer, are you going to get Phantom Liberty? I assume yes, right?
Yeah, I will.
Whenever you get through your main Starfield playthrough, at least, or whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I'll probably buy it. I'll probably try to play it the day it comes out, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I went ahead and bought it. It's only $30, but I had gift cards, so it was a different like decision. But yeah, it's preloaded, so I will check it out at some point. I don't know when that'll be. Okay, number 7, SAG-AFTRA, that is currently striking the major TV and movie production studios, has expanded to ask their members for a strike authorization for video game companies. So this basically, a strike authorization, if it gets voted for, basically just lets them go into negotiations with that in hand, saying like, well, if you're not willing to play ball or give us some of what we're asking for, this is what's going to happen. We're going to strike. We already have the members like signed off on that, so we can use that as one of our bargaining chips. So it doesn't necessarily mean a strike is going to happen, but you have to imagine that it might be fairly likely, because a lot of the same issues are going to come up that the video game companies, that the movies ones are, like the reproduction of voices using AI, motion capture studio reimbursement, likeness values and residuals, and all the things that are issues that need to come up. So if that happens, video games are slightly different than movies and TV, where they can do a whole lot of development without motion capture and audio that they could catch up on later. So it wouldn't slow development as much as movie and TV shows, but it certainly would hurt. And especially for games that are, I mean, like the ones we just mentioned, Witcher 4, Starfield, or Elder Scrolls 6, Witcher 4, and Mass Effect, those haven't even started motion capture or voice capture yet. So depending on how long a strike were to go on, that could affect the development of games like that or others that are currently in development. Spencer, any thoughts here?
I mean, I think it was only a matter of time. Who knows what'll actually come of it, but it doesn't surprise me one bit to hear this kind of news. So at least Starfield just came out, so got that. Got plenty of games that are already out that I haven't played, like Baldur's Gate and Diablo. So if something bad does happen and studios
it's
shut
been
down
a good
for
year.
a minute, you know,
A lot of games this year.
Yeah,
a lot of games.
Yeah.
And if I really get bored, I could go get a Switch and play all the Nintendo games I've been skipping for the last 5 years, because I only play PlayStation, Xbox, and PC. I'm really falling behind on PlayStation. I haven't played the last couple games that I got on that system because it's just easier to always play on Xbox. Even though I will play Spider-Man 2. That's too big to miss. Okay, number 8. The latest Xbox Insider update is testing a new feature that'll come to the rest of the console owners soon, which is to automatically upload your game clips to OneDrive. So this has been a feature that's been asked for since the launch of Xbox One. They did add the ability to do it manually, sort of, a couple years ago. I think it was during the Xbox One era, but it was late in the generation. So if you are a person that has a lot of OneDrive storage and you just want all of them to go to OneDrive, so it's easier for you to upload them other places or just to have them backed up, this feature will now be available. I don't have enough storage probably to do that. I currently do, but it's going to expire soon and I don't plan to renew it. But I think this is a feature a lot of people have asked for, so it's good. It's funny that you had all those complaints about Microsoft and OneDrive at the top of the show, and here it is, OneDrive, available to back up all your clips. I take more screenshots than I take clips. I don't know if that's true of you.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I don't really take a lot of clips. And I wonder if it says clips in my write-up here, but I wonder if it also includes images. It just says clips. So that's the, let's see, I'm looking for the official Xbox write-up here. I don't have it handy. Anyway, Final story, number 9, Borderlands. This is out now. Borderlands has a new, it's called Pandora's Box, and it's every Borderlands game ever made in one package. So it's Borderlands, Borderlands 2, Borderlands the pre-sequel, Tales from the Borderlands, Borderlands 3, and the new Tales from the Borderlands. All of those plus all of their DLC in one box. Now, they say suggested retail price is $150, but right now they're selling it for $60 for a limited time, but they don't say how long that is. But if you own certain games, and they don't say which certain games it is, the package is only $30. So I went in, and for me, it showed as $30, but I own all of these except for one. The only thing I don't own is the new, what's it called? The new Tales from the Borderlands. So I'm not going to pay $30 for that because it would be cheaper just to buy that by itself. But if you're a person that only owns like 1 or 2 games and it's $30, you could get all the Borderlands stuff in one easy package. It is nice that they did this to make it easier to buy it as a bundle. And it's really nice that they let it be discounted if you own some of the contents, because not many bundles do that. So
surprised that it took them this long to release a bundle called Pandora's Box. That's my comment.
Yeah,
because that's
if you
it was low hanging fruit there for literally like 15 years.
And if you click on Borderlands 3, there's like 7 different editions that come with, like, this one comes with Season Pass 1. This one comes with Season Pass 1 and 2. This one comes with this. And then there's an Ultimate Edition. And now there's a Pandora's Box Edition. And now there's so many. They need to simplify.
I lost interest in Borderlands a long time ago.
I am going to finish Borderlands 3 because I own it. And then I think I'm out because I've lost interest too. I want to see the end of 3 because I started it and got really far. Yeah. And I plan to go back at some point. But Borderlands 4 would need to do a lot to bring me back. And at this point, who knows? They might just shut them down because it's a Embracer Group studio now.
Gearbox, yeah. Maybe now that Embracer owns a Gearbox, they can bring back Brothers in Arms. Still waiting.
Sure, it's on their list.
Waiting on the finish to that storyline. Got through Market Garden. Still got like 9 more months of World War II to tell, but I'm not holding my breath.
Yeah. Great episode, man. It's a lot of fun to talk about Starfield. It's so fun to finally be here. And I was actually laughing hearing your stories of the hijinks that you got up to and comparing it to my own.
Yeah.
This is the kind of like gaming stuff that's fun. Like, it's nice to be here and not talking about Gotham Knights or Redfall or all these like duds that we've had over the last few years.
Yeah.
I just hope that they're able to replicate this with Avowed and Hellblade 2 and some other major first party games, because
Fable.
This is the kind of stuff that makes the platform exciting to talk about and exciting to play.
Mm-hmm.
So
I agree.
Spencer, thanks for being here as always.
Yeah.
And I've been your host, Tim Shelton. You can follow me on Twitter, please do, or X at Tim Shelton.
And I am Spencer Rain. You can follow me on the platform formerly known as Twitter at Makes It Rain.
Thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
New episodes post every Monday morning at 10 a.m. Eastern. You can contact us on Twitter at MultiformPod or by email at questions@multiformpodcast.com. If you enjoyed our show and you're feeling extra generous, please share it with your friends or on social media. You can subscribe on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, or anywhere you listen.